relativism? So first is, what is cultural relativism? Nietzsche. So first is, what is cultural relativism? Nietzsche and the end of the traditional ethics. God is dead. Nietzsche's famous declaration ranks with Descartes' I think therefore I am, as one of the philosophy most popular phrases. So the joke, Nietzsche is dead sign God, misses his point. Nietzsche wasn't just attacking religion, he questioned the idea of single, absolute morality, a moral authority. He argued that different cultures created their own moral codes with no universal standard to prove one superior. This idea that no morality is inherently right or wrong is called cultural relativism. So si Nietzsche was not rejecting sa religion, so he was challenging the idea that um, there is a single or absolute moral authority. So traditionally, kadaghanan sa mga moral system kay gi-base sa religious belief. So by Nietzsche, argued na ang morality daw is not universal, mean wala siya nakaset daan or dili siya absolute. And dili siya absolute nga moral rules nga sundon jud sa tanan. So instead, ang morality daw is i-base or create ni siya sa lain-lain nga beliefs, lain-lain nga pagtuo sa different society kung aha sila nabilong. Society of historical periods have had their own beliefs about what is wrong or right, or what is right or wrong. And wala sa sila moral, wala sa unsa nga moral codes or moral rules nga mulabaw sa another cultures. So cultural relativism means na ang moral values kay naghimo or nag-shape siya by cultural context rather than inherently right or wrong. So cultural context means kung unsa ang pagtuo sa uban kay kana mao na ang kanang murag kung unsa ilang pagtuo kay ato ang i-respect kay naman tay lain-lain nga cultures or natay lain-lain nga morals nga ginasunod. So next is cultural relativism and business ethics. Bribery is common in many countries. Notes Bishop Steve of Bishop, this puts U.S. businesses at a disadvantage abroad since Foreign Corrupt Practices Act 1977 prohibit bribery. Though certain gifts are allowed if they comply with local laws, however, the line between a gift and a bribe is often unclear. So some view this moral dilemma requiring ethical analysis. So si Nietzsche, however, saw it differently. Morality is just a shape opinion within a culture. So ang bribery kay dili siya inherently, dili ka kaingon nga right or wrong siya, depende og siya na bilong nga society kay same kaya sa uban society kay dili maayo ang kanang bribery, but sa US sa US dili pwede sa ilahang bribery, but sa uban kay dawat siya. So this suggests na ang business ethics kay dili siya universal but shape siya sa cultural norms na nag-change over time. So Nietzsche view challenges the idea of absolute moral values and force us to consider whether if ethical decisions in business and life are truly right or wrong or just reflection of cultural beliefs. So his arguments force us to reflect na kung paunsa nato i-define ang morality, mo-follow ba ta sa ethical standard or mo-adapt ta sa lain nga culture. Encourage us to recognize na society have different values. Key takeaways. Cultural relativism is the suspicion that values and morality are culture specific. They're just what the community believes and not the result for universal person. For cultural relativists, because because all moral guidelines originate within the specific cultures, there's no way to dismiss one set of rules as a wrong or inferior to those developed in another. So, cultural relativism means this is the idea na ang moral values o ethical rules kay dili universal sa imong giingon nga nakaset na dili siya kanang absolute or moral rules na nakaset na daan, but instead nakadepend siya kung aha ka nga society or culture na belong. Next is Nietzsche's eternal return of the same, responding to cultural relativism by leaving common morality behind. If morality shifts across cultures and time, it becomes hard to trust. Why follow moral rules today if they may change tomorrow? One's response is to reject morality altogether, seeing rules like honesty and fairness are as meaningless. This frees a person's freedom, a person from ethical constraints, allowing them to live beyond good and evil, embracing life without limits. So, his idea of eternal return of the same kay used to respond sa cultural relativism by rejecting morality. So, cultural relativism makes morality unstable kaya naga-change ang moral rules based sa time and place. So, the idea sa katong beyond good and evil where ang individual kay maka-create sila ilahang own values instead na mo follow sa imposed moral codes. So, embracing life without limits, makahimo sila decision sa ilahang kung sa ilang gusto without kanang worry kung kung unsay maingon sa ilaha sa lain tawo. So allowing individuals na makadefine it if unsa sa ilaha ang values rather musunod sa cultural or traditional norms. But sometimes it is dangerous kay pwede man masubraan ang imuhang pag makakause siya harmful behavior if masubraan. So, makakuha siya selfishness. Next is, example kay Souza. So, kana siya, nag-pretend siya as a crime fighter, but in reality, siya ang nag-create of crime para sa iyang own benefit. So, muhire siya hitman para mupatay, para ma-eliminate ang katong mga rivals niya, para mo-boost ang iyahang TV ratings. So he lived beyond sa traditional ideas of good and evil and gigamit niya morality as a tool rather than a guiding principle. So this reflects a response to cultural relativism where instead na mo follow ka sa common morality, i-abandon nimo ang ethical constraints entirely and ni-act siya on his own interest or will. So, next is, what is the eternal return of the same? So, by Nietzsche, isa na ka-challenge on how we view our actions and morality. If asked, what if you had to relive your entire life exactly as it is, over and over, forever. So in a world without absolute morals, so he believed na dapat ang mga tao kay responsible or full responsibility sa iyahang choice nga gipili. If ganahan ba siya nga kanang magbalik-balik ang mistakes or magbalik-balik ang kanang nga situation sa iyahang life. So si Zauna, so ni-act siya as if nga walay ethical constraints, wala siya gasunod. So he is a representation of someone na ni-ignored sa morality entirely. So his eternal returns force people na more reflect deeply on their choice and live entirely, making us actions truly meaningful. So next is, how does the eternal return work? So, his eternal return challenges us to choose a life with be willing to real life forever. So his external return, so muas na siya asking if would you be willing to relive your life exactly as it forever mo to kung ingon willing ba ka nga mabalik tong situation sa imong kay kato yung gipili nga choice is may mo balik-balik mo to siya permanente sa imong kinabuhi. So willing, so dapat kung imo kag choice dapat willing ka mo take of full responsibility ana. So challenges to people to think deeply as sa akong same sa akatong ingon nako dapat una-unaon nila maayo ang ilahang decision na i-make. So Nietzsche isn't saying na mo follow sa the same sa gihimo nga decision ni Souza. Instead, he's challenging us na i-rethink what drives our choices. So if moral rules don't define life purpose, what does? Ang eternal return force us to ask, would I willingly live the same life? So kaning in short, ang kaning eternal return kay isa ni siya ka-challenge ato isa ni siya ka-challenge nga mapangutanan nato tong self if willing ba ta nga modawat or willing ba ta nga kana gyapon nga decision ang mobalik-balik or situation nga magbalik-balik sa ato ang kinabuhi. Next is, what's the reward of morality? So this idea challenges the morality leads to future rewards. Why be honest if lying brings success? Why care about population if it won't affect you? So if life is destined to repeat endlessly, then there is no final rewards or punishment. Only same actions repeating forever. This raises us deep question is if there is no future payoff, why be moral at all? So what is reward of morality? So wala siya final rewards or punishment. Ang reward lang is ang katong result sa imuhang gihimo nga choice, sa imuhang gipili, and it's your experience. Mao na ang reward. Mao na imuhang madawat kung nagbinuotan ka, so nakay maayong mabalik sa imuha. So na siya advantage and drawbacks of eternal return. The eternal return has two key advantage. It adds weight to decision, making us to take them seriously, and eliminates eternal moral rules, forcing us to truly be ourselves. So ang advantages is it removes external moral rules, means you can do whatever you want. You can create your own value and live life kung paunsa nimo ikuan imong kinabuhi. So drawback, it could justify selfishness and chaos. If tanan only pursue sa ilahang desire, i-ignore nila ang traditional morality, then society could become unstable. So next is key takeaways. The eternal return is a tough experiment in which you imagine that life you chose will repeat forever. According to the eternal return, when faced with a dilemma in the business world, what career should I choose? Should I, or maybe just lie or cheat to get ahead? You should imagine living the decision over and over again forever. The eternal return maximizes individuality, but does little to help individuals live together in a community. Next is cultural ethics. So what is cultural ethics? Culturalists embrace the idea that moral doctrines are just the rules a community believes, and they accept that there's no way to prove one society's values better than another. So it is the belief na ang moral values kay dili siya universal, but instead gikan siya sa customs and tradition of each society. It suggests na ang moral behavior kay depends on societies kung aha ka na belong. ethical decisions kay dapat naka-base sa local customs kaysa sa universal rules. So, culturalists don't, however, follow Nietzsche in taking that as a reason to turn away from all traditional moral regulation. Instead, it is a reason to accept and endorse which guidelines are currently in effect, whether you have whatever, whenever you happen to be. So culturalists accept na walay absolute way to prove one's culture's morality kay superior to another. So however, unlike kay Nietzsche, wala nila gi-reject ang morality entirely. Instead, i-embrace nila ang moral guidelines of whatever society sila na belong. So next is cultural ethics and international bribery. So culturalists believe morality is society specific. So when we face with unfair ethical dilemmas, they follow local customs rather than universal rules. So sa traditional ethics argued for fixed moral principle like honesty, rejecting bribery regardless of local norms. So in international business, culturalists believe na when facing ethical dilemmas, kay such ang katong bribery, kay dapat daw ang companies kay mo follow sa local business practice kaysa sa ethical principle. But ang traditional ethics kay, by contrast, it insists on fixed moral principles such as honesty and reject ang bribery regardless of the cultural differences. So next is, what are some advantage and drawbacks of culturalist ethics? So advantage, respect cultural identity, acknowledges and preserve a society's unique moral beliefs without interference. Avoid moral superiority. No culture is judged as morally superior to another. So adapts the global business, help navigate ethical uncertainties in international trade by following local customs and making global business smoother. So respect cultural identity. So with i-respect na to ang lain-lain nga pagtuo because acknowledge society's unique moral beliefs without judging sa lain-lain nga naman tayo lain-lain pagtuo. So dapat atwara na i-respect. So avoid moral superiority. So culturalists kay nagtuo sila na walay culture ang mas better kaysa sa uban. So next is drawbacks. Prevents ethical progress. If all moral beliefs are equally valid, harmful traditions, example, corruptions, discrimination may go unchallenged. Lacks universal guidance. It offers no clear rules for resolving moral conflicts between cultures, making ethical decision making inconsistent. So, if acceptable na siya sa ilahang culture, then culturalists suggest na walay right bisag kinsa na mo challenge sa ilaha or mo judge sa ilahang pagtuo. So lacks universal guidance. One of the weakness siya sa culturalist ethics kay wala siya clear nga pamaagi kung paun sa ma-resolve ang conflict between the different culture. Next is disadvantages. So no path for moral progress as morality is just what locals do unethically practice like bribery remains unquestioned. There is no way to improve ethical standards. Second is prevent moral criticism. Culturalists denies the ability to judge another society's ethics. Even if a practice seems harmful, it's still considered right when within its own culture. So fails to resolve internal conflict when people within the same society disagree on ethical issues, example, property rights versus community interest. culturalists offer no clear way to settle disputes, leaving decision to power struggles instead of ethical reasoning. So key takeaways, proponents of cultural ethics embrace the idea that moral doctrines are just rules, beliefs, and customs of specific communities. Doing the right thing within a culturalist framework relies less on traditional ethics reasoning and more on detecting local habits. So, more on the culturalist view of ethics is neither true or nor false. It is a reaction to the world as it is, a place with vastly divergent set of moral codes. A culturalist ethics respect other societies and their practices but loses solid hope of for um, ethical progress. Next is virtue theory. What is virtue ethics? So virtue ethics focuses on developing good character traits rather than following strict moral rules. The, the key task and virtue ethics are identifying the virtues that defines good character, gaining experience and practicing those virtues. Virtue is not just an innate trait, but a skills that must be developed through practices. So, um, virtue ethic, moral philosophy na siya that is, emphasizes the develop. So, virtue ethics help people na maka-act o maayo in any situations, encourages personal growth, um, and moral excellences. So makabalo on how to make decisions na naay maayong um, naay maayong result sa ato ang gipanghimo nga desisyon. Ethical choices based on their well-developed character. So virtue kay dili ni siya automatic na naa siya na siya sa dili siya automatic nga na siya sa imuha. So it is a skill na dapat ma-develop over time. So also to become a good person, we should practice good habits. So dapat mo act ka because mao ang imong gusto, dili kay napugsan lang ka or mao ang kanang ginaingon sa imuhang mao ang ginaingon sa tawo. So acting virtuously should feel natural or satisfying feeling. So what are the virtues and vices? Every advocate of virtue ethics will present a constellation of virtues that they believe captures the essence of what needs to be acquired to be virtues. So next is typical leader also be a set of anti-virtues or vices to be avoided to fill out the fill out the picture. Here's the set of virtues overlapping with what most proponents will offer. So first is wisdom, both theoretical and practical, fairness, courage, temperance, prudence, sincerity, and civility. civility. On the outer edges, here's are the common pair of vices to be avoided. So first is cowardice and insensibility. So how do the virtues and vices work in a business environment? So virtues play a crucial role in ethical decision making in businesses. Two important virtues are theoretical wisdom and practical wisdom. So first is theoretical wisdom. It's gained through the study and education. It helps people understand ethical principles, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can apply them in real life business situation. So theoretical wisdom, knowledge na makuha while or through sa pag-study nato. Philosophical concept that guide decision making, but dili kanatanan is ma-apply nato sa in real life. Help us to deal in different situations, help business to decide or make decisions sa mga difficult na mga situations nga maabot sa ato ang business. They help evaluate sa mga challenges, help na makadevelop sa ilang critical thinking skills. Also, they can make high moral standards and more ethical policies. Kaya na naman sila knowledge about it. So next is practical wisdom or prudence. So this is kay ability ni siya na maka-make of balance and in making decisions sa ato ang life situation. Mas makabalo ka na mo handle sa mga butang without being impulsive. So help people na maka-make of decisions fairly sa different situations nga maabot. So it is the ability to make thoughtful, well-balanced decision in heat of the moment. It involves navigating between extremes. So in business, virtue ethics encourages professionals to develop these traits so they can make ethical choices naturally rather than relying solely on rigid rules. So fairness means judging situations objectively, considering different culture contexts like whether bribery is a norm in a given country. So fairness kay dapat dili ka bias and dapat if lahi-lahi man sila pagtuo, so you should not directly judge paminawa sa both sides ilahang reasons why. So courage is a balanced boldness, neither cowardly nor reckless. Like a reporter knowing when to take a risk but not endangered themselves. So courage, bisan kabalo ka nga risky, so you should still do what things nga kanang unsa jud dapat himuon gyapon nimo ang butang nga dapat himuon. But syempre, dapat kabalo ka kung nakay courage nga mo take sa consequence or kabalo ka how to protect yourself sa kanang risk. So next is temperance. It's a self-control, especially with the pleasure and delayed gratification. So meaning, dapat naa kay self-discipline, patience, o dapat kabalo ka how to control yourself, especially if naay mga situations nga kanang maabot sa imuhang business. Next is sincerity in revealing oneself appropriately, like adding warmth to business interaction without oversharing. So sincerity, dapat genuine and honest ka sa imong ginapakita or ginahimo nimo na decisions samot na in business. So importante ang honesty kay para maka-avoid kag conflict and need kaayo ang trust sa business kay para maka-gain para mas mutuo bitaw sa imuhang mga employees. So maka-create siya strong relationship between you as an owner og sa kanang sa imuhang mga kauban sa work. So civility is respecting others without self-humiliation. So you should respect others, be polite and be professional, be considerate and ayaw i-take og advantage ang uban. So fair dapat ang imuhang paglantaw. So paminaw sa ubang opinion dili lang sa imuhang own point of view. So maka-help ni siya sa business na maka-promote og positive work culture. Next is vices like cowardice and insensibility, create unease and moral failure. So maka-cause ni siya unethical decisions and maka-create ni siya maot nga relationship within sa imuhang kauban. So result and moral failures, makadaot siya sa business, walay good relationship and trust dili ka trustworthy. So, how do I become restore virtues? So virtues aren't a list of actions you can write on the back of your hand and refer to. They're ways of living, and the only route to become virtuous is to actually live those ways. So every society will have its own institution for instilling ang virtue. So, dili mean na you should set a rules, but instead consistently practicing good character traits every day. So, virtues like honesty, courage, fairness. So, dili na siya things na himuon nimo as occasionally they shape kung paun sa kamuting and interact sa lain tao, how you live. So, sa business, ma-develop na siya by consistently treating your employees fair and treat them with respect. Each person must make the choice to live virtuously through their actions. So next is advantage and drawbacks of virtue ethics. The principal advantage of virtue ethics is its flexibility, the confidence that those who are virtuous will be equipped to manage unforeseeable moral dilemmas and unfamiliar circumstance. The principal drawback is the lack of specific. The theory doesn't allow clear yes or no responses to specific problems like whatever I should offer a bribe. So this is important because it shapes us na it shapes us sa ato ang moral character. Help us na makamake og ethical decisions, builds internal moral strength, allowing people to navigate complex situation with wisdom and integrity. So, key takeaways, virtue ethics concentrates on forming good character, then trusting people to do right thing, at the heart of ethics, the formation of good character replace defining of specific guidelines for action. A society institution play a key role in insisting virtue. The basic virtue tends to stress moderation, the ability to avoid taking extreme actions in the face of dilemmas. So virtue ethics grant flexibility insofar as those who are virtues should manage in any situation. So, virtue ethic concentrate ang advantage ani. So, dapat mo ka sa imong own nga kagustuhan dili kay agi sa nakapalibot sa imuha, and dapat maging honest ka in every situation kay para maka-create ka good relationship with others, and ang virtues is dili siya kanang value nato is dili siya kanabitang atong batasan is dili na siya pagpanganak nimo nanandayon siya. It is kana ma-practice, dapat i-practice nimo kung unsa nimo ang ginabuhat adlaw-adlaw. So mauna ang imuhang muna ang moral character nimo. So kung maayo ka, so nakay good moral character, so naka-base ra jud siya kung unsa ka muak sa imuhang palibot. So mora to, and ang continuation is si Miss Rosales. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mitchell Irasalas, the next reporter for Chapter 2. So I will be continuing the topic that was discussed by Riza Joy earlier. All right, so this topic is all about the curious responding to the challenges of cultural relativism. So the content that I will be presenting is discourse ethics, the rules of an ethics of care, the cheat sheet, rules of thumb in applied ethics, and the case studies. So the first topic is all about the discourse ethics. So what is discourse ethics? So discourse ethics is a theory developed by Georgian Habermas, argues that the normal norms are justified through rational argumentation in a free and inclusive dialogue where all affected parties can participate and reach a consensual agreement. So, discourse ethics is a way of communicating na ang purpose dyan is to solve any misunderstanding that there is. It is somewhat the same sa actively listening because without listening actively, then obviously diligent marriage ang main goal and purpose in discourse ethics, which is to clear all the misunderstandings. In this discussion, kay both parties were given enough time to explain their sides without judgment. It encourages both parties to speak up the truth for the justice to be served right in the end. Alright, so how does discourse ethics works? So when a dilemma is faced, those involved gather and try to talk it out. The discussion is constrained by two basic limits. It is the conversation must be reasonable and civil, and the goal is a peaceful and consensual solution. So as long as naaning duha, kay ato ni siyang makol na ethically respectable. So I have listed here at least 4 ideals or conditions to consider the communication discourse. So the first one is inclusiveness. All affected parties must be able to participate. Kaya of course, dili man pwede nga di kaganahan niya personally. Or for example, you don't like his or her ethnicity, then na may conflict, but you don't want to resolve it, kaya lagi you are not open for inclusivity. That is a very big no-no for discourse ethics. Everyone, if included sa affected parties, should be able to speak up for themselves. Alright. So the number 2 is equality. All participants must have equal opportunities to express their views and challenges arguments. Dili pwede nga ikaw na-explain and na-clear mo side, kaya you will not give the same time sa imuhang katok at the moment or your opponent or the other parties. If she or he lets you finished and they listen well, of course, basic courtesy na po na imuha silang taganong time to explain well themselves and hear their sides as well, right? Okay. So the next one is the freedom of coercion. No one should be pressured or manipulated into agreeing within a particular norm. So giving respect to one's opinion and perspective is a must while practicing discourse ethics. Just because a specific thing works out for you doesn't mean it will automatically work out to others as well. Never pressure nor try to manipulate someone to believe over something only you can benefit with. And the last one is rationality. Arguments must be based on reason and evidence, not emotions or dynamics, or power dynamics. It's our minds versus heart that clash every time. And we both know that if we ever let our emotions take over, we can't think rationally anymore. In discourse ethics, when doing discussions or there is an ongoing discussion, it should be based on facts and reasons. You want the conflict to be solved, right? So we should think rationally and disregard muna natin yung feelings natin at the moment. Okay. So we have here 5 steps on how to apply discourse ethics. The first one is define the immediate stakeholders or those party involved. That is, those who are most affected by the dilemma and may be gathered to resolve it. In this case, they include you and the other party. The number 2 is establish a language for discussion. In the international world, this is actually a real problem. Sensibilities must be respected. So of course, if na conflict between me, the Bisaya, and you as a Tagalog, and then I'll go talk in Bisaya, and then I thought I presented my sentiments well, but then sa imuhang side, you didn't get it. So walay kwentang ato ang argument sing ani. So first, And foremost, kay dapat ato adyong i-distinguish of which language ang ato ang i-use. Para dili siya tanga ng conflicting gali and we will meet halfway. The third one is establish the goal. And of course, the goal sa kanang discourse ethics is to have a solution at the end. And dapat peaceful and consensual jud ang resolution or solution sa ato ang dilemma. The fourth one is define the problem. So the stage of the process would require fairly lengthy elaborations by all those involved of exactly what they understand their obligations and interests to be. Kaya unsaon man nato ay need solve sa specific thing if at the first place kay wala ta kahibaw unsay problema, right? So it is important to know of unsa jud ang pinaka main topic nga ato ang i-discuss. Okay. So the last one is obviously is to propose solutions. Discourse ethics is open, a kind of ethical brainstorming. Those involved offer solutions, modify each other's proposal, and try to discern whether a common ground can be. Okay. So the solution doesn't only mean nga kanang mo work para sa inyo, okay? It will work for you pero sa others dili. So asa man ang peaceful and consensual resolution nga na. So dapat if mo hatag tag solution kay both parties ang maka-benefit, not you alone and not him or her alone. So next. So the advantage of discourse ethics. The main advantage of discourse ethics is that the search for solutions opens the door all the way. Everything's on the table. That gives those involved just about the best hope possible for a solution benefiting everyone joined in the discussion. So of course, because the main goal is to resolve the problem, all sentiments will be on the table. It's up to us, to you, on how you will interpret what the other party has said. And if the things aren't that clear, you have the right to ask for clarification to, of course, avoid another set of misunderstandings. In discourse ethics, we don't do hula-hula or tago-taguan ng feelings. Everything should be said in here with all honesty. Kaya unsaon man nato ini clear sa misunderstandings nga naa, if imuhang i-cover up imuhang real feelings and dili ka mag-honest, right? So for us to resolve it fairly and peacefully, dapat tanan nga problems, tanan nga sentiments, tanan nga ni bother sa imuha should be brought up para solutions pud kay maayon ra pud sa kung unsa man ang angay nga ihatag. Okay? So if of course na advantage, di jud pud mawala ang disadvantages, right? So naay two ka main drawbacks ang discourse ethics. First is everything is on the table. Okay, kanina ako to siyang giingan as disadvantage sa, pero karon sad kay nahimo siyang disadvantage. Wow. So being open is surely an advantage. Pero if you look sa other side sad, kay ma-consider siya as disadvantage. And why is that? Kay open lagi mo, no secrets at all, honesty is there. But here comes the thing we need to consider. All of us didn't live the same places, which means what's right and okay for you doesn't automatically mean nga okay sad sa other parties. And here comes the second drawback center. If it's not beneficial to the both parties, of course, automatic na nga mubalik jud ta sa pinakasugdanan. Kaya if dili ma-clear ang misunderstanding sa pika side, dili man jud ta mahumaningani. Ma-clear ni tanan if kitang luha maka-benefit na sa solution nga ato ang nakita. Gotcha. So we have here the KDOs. So discourse ethics solves dilemmas by asking those involved to discuss the matter reasonably until they can find a consensual and peaceful solution. The second is discourse ethics allows remedious latitude in the search for solution to conflicts. but it risks allowing solutions that many would consider unethical. The next topic that I will be tackling is the rules of an ethics of care. So, what is ethics of care? So, ethics of care is a normative ethical theory emphasizing the moral importance of interpersonal relationships. I say interpersonal relationships, okay? Care and compassion, viewing morality as a relational and context-bound approach to decision making. So, um, mine to care the way I repeat the interpersonal relationship. Kay ethics of care isn't all about yourself, but rather with those people that surrounds you as well. So instead of thinking what's beneficial for you alone, you think of what's beneficial to other people that's close to you. But ethics of care is highlighting the importance of interpersonal relationship rather than intrapersonal relationship. So the reason po why ethics of care is emerged or seen as feminist perspective kay tungod gina-challenge ani niya ang traditional theories which is seen as male-centric, which often prioritizes abstract principles of justice and totally neglecting the importance of relationships, empathy, emotions, and care values often associated with women and female groups. So we have here three critical steps to be remembered when we hear the ethics of care. So the first is ethics is not about me and you, it's about us. Second is ethics is all about the fair imposition of rules and more about crafting social integration. Social integration because again, it is all about interpersonal relationship. And the last one is ethical tensions aren't my rights versus yours. It is me being torn with those I care for. Next, we have here the advantages, at least three advantages of a care-based ethics. All right. So the first one is we get to listen to our instincts well and do exactly what we ought to do when it comes to protecting our loved ones. The second one is in ethics of care, kaya instead of basing science or rules that seems inhuman, kaya we get to follow our emotions galing. Like we can be human, we can be beings, we can be sentient. Kaya it is all about emotions man, which practically suited to general practice of ethics. The number three and the last advantages, kay, instead of trying to save everyone in the world, which obviously is not possible to happen, ethics of care allows us to focus our energy and love to those who matter to us. So the drawbacks of ethics of care, because we only think of the people that's important to us in ethics of care, mahulog na nga if dili ti ka pamilya or dili ka important sa ako kay wala ko responsibility sa imuha in any ways. You take good care of yourself and your group and I will do the same mindset ang ethics of care. Munang mahulog siya na drawback. We have here at least three key takeaways. So the first one is an ethics of care makes the nurturing of our immediate communities and the protecting of those closest to us to the highest moral obligation. The second is invest in business. An ethics of care asks us to review decisions not in terms of hard rules, but in terms of how they will affect the people with whom we share our lives. And the last one is an ethics of care humanizes moral decision but threatens tribalism. Tribalism kay katong akong example sa last. Katong mindset nga ikay amping sa imong kagalingon and sa imong group while I'll take group I'll take good of myself and my group. Ano siya, nag-threaten siya sa tribalism. Okay, so the third topic, the cheat sheet, rules of thumb and applied ethics. So kani siya kay mga theories ra ni siya nga na-discuss in this textbook. And then ako ra siya gipang-list here, including the traditional theories and the contemporary theories about to respond to cultural relativism. So we have here the list of theories under the traditional theories, and the first one is the duty, second is fairness, third is thumb, fourth is rights theory, five is egoism, six is altruism, and the seven, and the last one is utilitarianism. The contemporary theories responding to cultural relativism is we have here the internal return is the same. Nine is the cultural ethics, the virtue ethics, the discourse ethics, and ethics of care. And for the last topic is we have here the case studies. I have put here two excerpts, which shows ug unsa ni all about ang mga topics nga na story dili lang about sa kuha but the other topics as well nga na mention ganina sa atong first reporter nga si Bation. Okay, so I will just go on to the conclusion that I made. You can just read through this because we will be sending the PPT. So the conclusion is both excerpts are case studies exploring the challenges of cultural relativism using real-world examples to illustrate the clash between different ethical systems and difficulties of imposing external moral standards. The first case study focuses on an individual's career path and personal growth within a political context, highlighting the importance of perseverance and the value of constructive criticism. The focus is on individual agency and the transformative power of impact. The second excerpt examines systematic corruption and the normalization of unethical behavior within a specific societal context. It emphasizes the deeply ingrained nature of the problem and the challenges of implementing reform in the face of widespread acceptance of the status quo. The focus is on societal structures and the difficulty of changing deeply entrenched norms. So to conclude this both excerpts or case study that I've included in this report, while both address cultural relativism, they do so through different lenses. The first one is one through individual experience and personal growth, and the second going through systematic societal issues and the challenges of institutional reform. Both, however, underscore the complexity of applying universal ethical standards to diverse cultural contexts. And that's it for my part. And thank you so much for listening and being with me until the end. Bye-bye.